that is also something that is a very peasanty thing to do, because if you just have onions and bread and a lot of boiled up bones, and they always used to have wine and spirits along in their houses, so they flavored things up quite a bit with wine and spirits, and that's one thing that makes this soup very good when you do that. So this does have the wine in it, and you can eat it just as it is. Just serve it with a bowl full of grated cheese and some toasted French croutons. Or you can make the onion soup gratiné, which this is here. And this, we're going to make this thing, but I'm going to do it in individual little bowls rather than big ones. And so here we have some individual, cute little individual pottery bowls, and I have them buttered in the bottom. And now we're going to do the gratin part. And I have here, you want to have some toasted croutons of French bread, and that's just thinly sliced French bread, sliced about ½ an inch thick, and then put in the oven and bake very slowly for about 30 minutes or so until it's hard. You see, that's quite hard, and it's very lightly browned. But it's terribly important that you have croutons that are not going to disintegrate in the soup. And I'm going to give you an example. We have 2 loaves of French bread here, and guess which twin is not the one we want? Look at that. That is terrible, terrible bread, and it's just because it's not properly made. You want something that's like this, and it has body to it, because if you don't have the right kind of bread, I've got to turn down my soup, everything is going to disintegrate into slime. So these croutons are made out of the proper kind of bread. So you take a crouton, 2 croutons, and put them in the bottom of each bowl. And then we have cheese. And we have 2 kinds of cheese. We have some that's sliced and some that's grated. And there's a great question, too, about strings on onion soup. How, when you eat it, do you want the string to string all the way up on your spoon? And one theory is that if you use 2 or 3 different kinds of Swiss cheese, like Gruyere and Emmental and Fribourg, you'll have less strings, and also a little bit of wine helps, too, I think. So you have, and also some people say that either dice the cheese or put it in very thin slices, some of it, and that helps. So here I'm putting very thin slices in the bottom that just cover those croutons there. And we'll get this out of the way so you can see. So there they are. And then you put a little bit of soup in first. These bottom croutons are going to rise to some extent, and I'm just putting a little bit in first to let them imbibe slightly. And then I'm going to fill the little bowls. And then they're going to get the croutons and cheese on top. But then first, I'm going to put in just a little bit of cognac. Oh, about a tablespoon or so into each one. See, all of this little bit of spirits, of course, the alcohol boils away. All we're interested is in the flavor. And that adds a great deal to the flavor of the soup. That je ne sais quoi that the French are so famous for. And then we have the croutons that are floated on the top. In the top crouton business, you do only at the last minute. And then on goes your grated cheese, and this again is a mixture of 3 cheeses and also a little bit of Parmesan. That goes on the top, and then we have a little tiny bit of melted butter on the top of that, just to help the cheese to brown. And then that goes into the oven. And you want to put that, and you do this just at the last minute, and this is to go into a 425-degree oven, which is in Celsius, 220 Celsius. And that goes into the oven, and you let it cook for about 20 minutes or so, and there she is. All nicely brown, and it kind of puffs up, and you serve that right away. And that makes your first course, and it's a quite hearty one because you've got all that cheese. And then you're going to have, for a second course, a salad. And this is known, what we're going to have is a salad that was invented by the Brown Derby restaurant in Los Angeles way back in 1936, and it's called a Cobb Salad. And it's named after Robert Cobb, its inventor. And it's still served a great deal in California, and it's a delicious salad, I think. You start out with very, very finely chopped greens. If you can see how finely chopped that is, and you really have to do that by hand. And this is a combination of green iceberg lettuce, and you can get green iceberg lettuce, and romaine and frizzy lettuce, or which is called chicory, and then some watercress, all very finely chopped by hand. And then what I like to do is, there are various ways of doing it, and I think a home Cobb salad is different from a restaurant one. I toss that up just before serving, and I put a little bit of oil and salt and pepper on it because I like to flavor each ingredient as it goes. There's a bit of salt. This looks as though I'm going to put on a lot of salt, but if you put salt in your hand, that's about 1/4 teaspoon, and spread it. It looks like a lot more than it is. I just want a little bit of flavoring in that. It's going to be tossed with dressing later. And then you mound that nicely in your bowl. What I'm doing a fast version of this, and you're going to see a beautifully arranged one in the dining room, but I just want you to see how it is. And then we have the various elements that go with it. Here we have avocado, and this has been also finely diced and then tossed with a little bit of oil and lemon. Then we have finely chopped hard-boiled egg. We have finely chopped poached chicken breast, finely chopped tomato, and both the chicken breast and the tomato have been flavored with a little bit of oil, salt and pepper and lemon. And here's some chopped green herbs, chives or scallion, and this is chopped crisp bacon, and this is diced Roquefort cheese. Other Roquefort cheese are a very good blue cheese. And then all of these get nicely arranged, and then you toss it at the table. So I'm going to do a rapid arrangement here.
You're looking at someone who just bought a house without a down payment. How? He called 1-800